Okay, so we're going to do a whole new design in pivot tables with this next example. And I'm going to just start from scratch. So we're going to go back to our data, which we have here right now. And we're going to go back into the insert, and we're going to do the pivot table, hit OK, give us a new sheet here, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to see for my row labels the genre. Okay, so like the action, the comedy, and so forth. And then we're going to look at is the year-by-year breakdown, 2010, 2011, 2012. I want to see that, but then I want to see in there the percentage increase or decrease year over year. All right, so a very simple Excel calculation, but it's something that we can't put into here directly. We have to actually use its preset calculations and grab one and put it in there. But you'll see as we go along here. But the point of the matter is that with a very simple set of procedure here, we're going to come up with a very dynamic looking worksheet, one that definitely conveys some information that we normally wouldn't see. So we're going to start out, first of all, we're going to bring in our genre. We'll bring that down into our rows area. There it is. Okay, so that looks good. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in our gross sales. And we're going to do that. We're going to bring that into the summary. There they are. So that is basically from 2010 to 2016, the sales, gross sales for each of those genres. Now, I want now to have it broken down by year, all right? So we're going to take the year field, drag it into the columns, just like that, and now we've got it broken down by year. Now we need to figure out the calculation that will show what percentage increase or decrease did we have between 2010 and 2011, 2011 and 2012, 2012 and 2013, and so forth. We can't go in there. We can't like go in and do a right click on column D here and hit insert. Okay, you're going to get an error message that says you can't do that. So we need to rely on the program itself to be able to give us that calculation. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in the gross sales figure again. All right, that field. Drag it back into that same area, drop it off there, and now we got a pairing of the same data for each of the years. Okay, we're going to leave this one alone, but the second one that we brought in, we're going to change it to where instead of it doing its normal summary, it will figure out the percentage increase or decrease between each of the years and the previous year. Okay, very powerful. So to do that, we're going to go to the second field here, because that's where we want to put it on, or the second occurrence of the field, which is this one here. We're going to double click that heading, just like that. We're then going to go over into this area here where it says show values as, and click onto that. Then we're going to go into where it says show values as, the little drop down arrow here. And we're going to scroll down. There's quite a few different, and most of them are pretty much divisionary type calculations. A few of them, there's other ones too, but that's predominantly what they are. But we can kind of scroll down here, and the one we're going to find here is the percentage difference from. Now, the difference between that and this one here is this one gives you the percentage difference. This one gives you the dollar or value difference. All right. $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is, right? We're going to do this one here, though. We're going to click onto that. Now, we're not out of the woods yet. This part right here is why most people that even attempt to even get this far end up failing, is because they don't set this part up right. The base field, so there's two things we need to do. We need to work with the base field and the base item. The base field is the field that's giving us our grouping here, okay? And that field is the one that's giving us the 2010, 2011, 2012, which is the date field, or in this case, the year field, okay? Rarely would you ever be comparing anything other than some sort of a date format situation, like comparing months or comparing quarters or years or days or weeks or whatever it is, all right? But rarely would you be doing something where maybe along the top we had adventure, action, comedy, crime, and so forth, and saying, oh, the percentage increase or decrease between action and an adventure was, 10%. What the heck does that mean? It means nothing. It's worthless garbage, okay? And your audience is going to know that if you try to pull that on them. So the idea here is that when you're doing this, comparison, it's usually having to do with time. So the point of the matter is, how do you remember what to put in here? It's always going to be that date field. Whatever field gave you this, all right, that's the field that you pick. And you're going to be comparing each of those dates to the previous date to figure out the percentage increase or decrease. So this one will always be previous. The only time that you ever change this, and maybe set it for 2010, would be if you're trying to compare 2011 to 2010, 2012 to 2010, 2013 to 2010, then you would do that. It's rare that you would ever do that, but I'm sure there are situations where you'd want to do that. You'd want to compare every year to the year that you started, or the year that you started doing whatever, all right? Anyway, so that's always going to be previous for the most part. So the date field, previous, that's all you have to remember. You hit OK on this. There we go. Not bad. Now, the other thing to look at is we can pretty much rename these fields. This is stupid to have sum of gross sales, sum of gross sales 2. I want this one to be, we can just call this one maybe revenue, okay? So we'll type in revenue on that, and that will then change all of that occurrence of that field. This one can just be, we can just put the percentage symbol, but we can do something like maybe YY, like year over year, percentage, something like that, right? Enter that one in. That looks good. Now, the thing is, this thing is pretty spread out. The columns are wider than what they need to be. We need to center this stuff. So remember from the previous videos, we can actually click anywhere in the pivot, go up into the pivot table tools, analyze, and then we can go over here to the pivot table where you'll see options, or you might just see it directly depending on your version. And then over here, we just click on Merge and Center Cells, hit OK, boom, just like that. Worked out pretty nicely. The other little thing is that we have a number of nulls in there. And the reason why we're getting that is because some of the revenue years were 0. All right, so therefore couldn't really calculate a percentage increase or decrease. What we can do, because that looks a little messy, it just looks like we did it wrong, and it looks like there's errors. People might kind of determine that maybe this is not as accurate as they were led to believe, all right? Anyway, we're going to replace the null anytime that it occurs with nothing, just blank, all right? To do that, again, we would go back into Analyze, go back to Pivot Table, go to your Options, and down here where it says for error value show, put a check mark in there, but don't put anything here. Therefore, it'll just show a blank like the other ones. The other ones that are blank are the 0 ones. And you can see on here it says for empty cells, meaning 0 cells, whatever, put nothing, right? If you put a 0 there, you get 0. Put a 0 there, you get 0. All right, but we'll just leave it blank. Hit OK. There we go. Now, another aspect that we can look at on here, another pivot that we can actually put together is one where, oh, by the way, let me just throw this out at you. I know it's probably kind of late to be telling you this, but when you're on the pivot table, all this stuff comes alive. You get your pivot table tools, the analyze and design, all that. The minute you click off of it, you lose all that. And I always get students will be in class, and I'll go, oh, I lost everything. What happened? I said, well, you just clicked off it. Just click anywhere on there, and it all comes back, and they're all happy. All right. Anyway, so I want to do one more. I want to swap out the genre, okay, with the time, you know, the running time of the films. And I want to just get like a range and show that, you know, year over year. So we'll take the genre out, just drag it out there. We'll bring time in just like that. All right. And then you'll see that it's already, it remembers the last thing we did. And on the previous video, we had grouped it into increments, I think, of 60 minutes. That's what you're seeing here. I want to change that back to being 30 increment or 30-minute increments. So what we can do is we can just click in here, right? Go back to Analyze, right? Go to Group Field, and then change the 60 back to a 30. Hit OK, and there we go. And that's pretty neat. So you look at this, for instance, for the films that were running between 131 minutes and 160 minutes. In 2010, we did that much. In 2011, we did that much. So the percentage difference, or the percentage increase in this case was, it went up 172%. So pretty slick stuff. I mean, and again, this kind of thing means something to somebody, all right? And it's up to you to do all your different combinations of fields, dragging them in there, moving them back and forth between columns and rows, rearranging in the order within the columns and rows. That's where you're going to discover some really cool designs, and then you'll remember those layouts for future data that you have. Okay, so we're going to continue this on the next video. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this will be of some help to you in the future. Take care.